Hello, my friends. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm hoping that you've all had a very blessed Christmas and that you've spent valuable time with your families and celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and that you're easing into an exciting Kwanzaa celebration. Today is the second day of Kwanzaa, which is Kujichagulia, as we say, Aberigani, Kujichagulia, which is self-determination. And so on this day of self-determination, I am sharing some information with you about the Hotep Christian pilgrimage to Egypt in 2023, October of 2023. I'm so excited about this journey. I'm sending it to those who have both interest and those who have actually committed to going. Who have said, you know, I'm 85% certain or I'm 100% certain I'm going on this trip, because time is marching on and our organization is key in terms of the success of this trip and the ability, our ability to really enjoy what is a wonderful journey to Egypt. I want to schedule a Zoom meeting where we can all talk and I can answer any questions that you have thus far. I want to schedule it for the first week in January, which is next week. And so I want you to respond to this with good times for you. For me, the best times for a meeting are let's say Fridays. On Friday, the 6th of January. Anytime Friday. I see clients Monday through Thursday, and so Friday would be the best day for me, or on Saturday morning after 11 a.m. Either the 6th or the 7th. So tell me if you can meet either Friday morning or Friday after work, or Friday evening, or at maybe 7 o'clock, or Saturday morning at maybe noon, Saturday at noon. I know that would be the 7th at noon. So let me give you just some basics in terms of where we are. First of all, I want to share with you how beautiful my journey was this past October. I was truly blessed to go with the Mafiko Institute. Dr. Timba Mafiko was my professor of Old Testament and Hebrew and exegesis when I was in seminary some 30 years ago. It was almost like time stopped because we found ourselves 30 years later going on this trip to Egypt. He's been doing this for about 30 years, taking groups. As a matter of fact, he took several of my classmates went with him to Egypt and to Kenya and to Ghana. He's from Zimbabwe, very learned man. He earned his PhD in Old Testament at Harvard University, and he blessed us all with his knowledge. But going on the trip, and there were 26 of us. He's still a professor at the Interdenominational Theological Center where we all went to school. And most of the people were former students of his. And there were a couple of professors, but mostly pastors who were former students of his, and scholars, a couple of professors, and other church leadership. And there were 26 of us on this particular trip. We had a wonderful time. Part of the reason I'm telling you my experience is because he did a very excellent job in organizing that trip. Again, been doing this for 30 years, so I'm taking my cues from him on this trip that I'm able to organize on my own. He mentored me a few years back when I wanted to do a trip to Greece. And what I learned from that trip, it didn't happen. The guy who was the travel organizer had known Tony Lockhart. He died in the process, and then we didn't do the trip. But ultimately, I know the importance of this time period. So we're less than 10 months out from the actual journey. And what needs to happen is we need to begin to package the trip so that you can begin to pay in small portions on your way to it. I mean, not many people have $4,000 that they can just tear off and go. So what we'll do is put it in a package where you give the certain amount of down payment of $750 or $900. You'll do that early on, probably by the beginning of February. And then as we move on to every 2 months, you give another $1,000. So by the time we get to 2 months before we take off, all your monies are in. But we need to do that now so that you would be able to plan out your monies and have the money available and prepare for the trip. And there's steps in the process, you know, in terms of our organization. Nobody does this alone as well. You need a team. So I need some core people who will also help me with the organization of this as we go through. I have a great person who has been working with Dr. Mafiko for 12 years, Muhammad Aziz, and he was an excellent tour guide. He's Egyptian, and he's there, and he's put together the package that you've gotten. I developed a great relationship with him in my 10 days in Egypt, and I told him and Dr. Mafiko that I want to do my own trip for Hotep Christian Services, and they both blessed the trip, and I'm excited to put it together for you guys. I have Sister Violet Meyer, who went on the trip with us this past October 2022, and we had a wonderful time. She's going again, and we talked about it while we were there. And then, of course, Dr. Trenton Frederick, who is my fraternity brother and vice chair of Brother You're on My Mind. And then Dr. Michael Till, who is also a fraternity brother, and he's the Michigan statewide chair of Brother You're on My Mind, which is a mental health program. They expressed interest as I was planning to go last year, and now they're committed to going this year. And then, of course, my wife Miranda, she's going, and that's 5 of us that are the core right now. Now we need anywhere from 12 to 20. I'm saying 12 to 20. I think, you know, if we did 17, 18 people, the smaller groups, you can do even more with a smaller group. That would be great. But we have 5 really committed. We have a lot of people who've expressed interest, but haven't said, "Oh, I'm going." My brother John and his wife Angela are interested. Have another guy who was one of the founders of Hotep Church, Steve Martin, and former board member who lives in Atlanta. He's interested. I have a brother named Leonard Cry and a brother named Bilal Ali, who are all interested in going. And I'm sure you'll see this video. But we need by the middle of January, after the Zoom meeting, to get commitments. I hope I'm getting commitments at the meeting. My hope is to have at least 12 people by the end of January. So we need to double our numbers by then. So if any of your spouses want to come, or your significant others or friends of yours, let them know, and please let them see this video. First of all, my introduction is that my trip was amazing. It was transformative. It wasn't my first time to Africa. I went to South Africa for 3 weeks in '97, but it was my second time to the continent, but my first time to Egypt. And as you know, my nonprofit organization and my church was both named Hotep after the great Imhotep. And I had a chance to be mentored by Dr. Asa Grant Hilliard in this conference organization and a nonprofit mental health services organization, Hotep Christian Services, was set up based in what I learned about Egypt and the importance of sharing that knowledge with our children and with our families and with our people. Dr. Hilliard was an Egyptologist, and I had a chance to not only read his books, but spend time with him and set up a conference in his honor, the Asa Grant Hilliard Breakthrough Conference in 2008. And from there, I continued, you know, even the 16 years I spent in Atlanta, I really got a chance to study under some Black psychologists and liberation theologians and Black theologians. And I learned a great deal about the continent and about East Africa and about Imhotep and Ma'at and the rest. It would just, you know, it transformed my understanding of theology by going to the roots of African traditional religion. But when I went on the trip and I set foot in Egypt, when I went to the temple at Karnak and I walked through this open air temple, and at Edfu, and I walked through this open air temple that puts Washington D.C. to shame. We're used to seeing these huge monuments. You know, we see one great obelisk, the Washington Monument in Washington D.C., and we see Abraham Lincoln sitting on a chair, and we say, "Oh my God, these things are so huge!" And then we see these huge. But when you go to the temple at Karnak and you see this big open air monument to the history of Egypt, the sphinxes, and you see the pyramids, and you see all the obelisks lined up, and sphinxes lined up, and they're huge. And you see the great pharaohs and the great kings, and looking like, I mean, we think the Abraham Lincoln Monument and the Jefferson Memorial is huge. These things are amazing, and we see that our people built them thousands of years ago. We see the roots of modern civilization. And that blew me out of the water. When I stood at the place where in the Coptic church, which was the first Christian church, where we know that Jesus was hidden by Mary and Joseph in the basement area of that church in a cave, before it was the Coptic church, when they were hiding Jesus from Herod. We find ourselves in a place that verifies what we know about being of African descent. And when people looked at me and they said, "Oh, you're one of us," and we had the same complexion and the same framework of our physique, and then oh, I'm home, and that what the Egyptologists told us and what the Bible tells us is real. It's just a powerful experience. When you go down the Nile River and you're able to unpack and deconstruct history to know that the Cleopatra looked like us and didn't look like Elizabeth Taylor, and that Moses didn't look like Charlton Heston. It just opens your mind, and you just see, when you see that Imhotep's a wall devoted to the great Imhotep, Chancellor Imhotep's medical tools that were thousands of years before Hippocrates, who's been gifted with the title of founder of modern medicine. And you know that Hippocrates came to Egypt to look at this wall that you're looking at and study the tools that Imhotep created for modern medicine. You're blown away when you look at him being the father of modern psychology, and find out that he came up with not only what we know as mortuary science, but he came up with the first diagnosis of dementia and depression. And you see this, it's amazing to you. I mean, it is amazing, and it's transformative, and it's strengthening. Not only reading about it and seeing pictures of it or even movies of it, but being there. Very transformative. And then when you travel down the Nile and you see all of the things that you've seen in movies and all of that on this cruise, it's the most peaceful journey that I have taken, looking out of your hotel room and looking at the palm trees and the old villages where the Egyptians walked, and where Joseph and Mary took Jesus as they went to Cairo to hide him. And so all these things come alive. The food was amazing. You stay in 4- and 5-star hotels when we're on land, and the food is just fresh. We had some lamb that not only did the owner of the restaurant cook the lamb, but he raised the lambs on natural food that he actually cooked. So he had a farm where he raised the lamb, and then he cooked the lamb, and then he was there to tell you, did you enjoy the lamb? Now, this is a different experience than what we're used to. So anyway, it was a rest and restoration journey. And we want to recreate that, what I experienced, where you have a time to reflect, you have a time to discuss what you saw, and you have a chance to disconnect from the stresses and strains of the rabbit wheel that we find ourselves on in modern society. you know, we call it the gerbil wheel or the hamster wheel. You get a chance to get off, disconnect, leave all that back in the States, leave all the, you know, the racism, the this, the that, and to go to a place where your people really ordered modern society. So that's my experience. And it happened so fast, you know, 10 days. This trip is 13 days and 12 nights. It's a little bit longer, but I want to see it again. And then we went to the old Egyptian Museum, but as we go, the new Grand Egyptian Museum will open that fall when we go this October. And so we'll get a chance to see the new Egyptian Museum, which is 5 times larger than the old museum. So we look forward to that. And so anyway, in this Zoom meeting, either Friday morning, Friday evening, or Saturday at noon, I would love to answer any questions you have about where we are thus far. The trip by Muhammad Aziz has already been laid out very well. I communicate with him about once every couple weeks, but I want to be able to share that I have 12 commitments by the end of, at least 12 by the end of January. So that's where we are. So first thing is, please respond to me with which one of those meeting times would be good for you. Say at 10 a.m. Friday morning, a 7 p.m. Friday evening, or at 12 noon on Saturday, the January 6th or 7th. I'm going to go over an overview. I know I've sent this to you, but sometimes we don't read our emails. Maybe you'll look at this Zoom. Please go back, and if you need me to send it to you again, we would arrive on Sunday the 1st of October in Cairo. We'll be traveling from DC, Washington, DC, and we're going to fly over on Turkish Air or Turkish Airlines or Egyptian Airlines. I wanted to go over, I went over on British Airlines last time from Atlanta. Didn't have the best experience. You know, I'm on my way to Egypt, to the motherland, and all of a sudden I'm on British Airlines. And I just think the whole experience would be better if we were, especially if we get a chance to fly on Egyptian Air. So anyway, we chose that. So we'll fly out of Washington, D.C. The 5 of us have made that decision. I took a poll to find out whether you want to fly out of New York or out of Washington, D.C., and people wanted Washington, D.C. So you'll need to fly from wherever you are. So those of us from Detroit will fly from Detroit to D.C. We'll meet up in D.C. and fly from D.C. to Cairo. All right. And we'll go through London. We'll arrive on the 1st. So that means we'll leave on Saturday, the 30th of September. That Monday, we'll be in Alexandria. And so first we'll have a welcome dinner, a reflective dinner. People will get a chance to meet, have a dinner, and just discuss what we plan to get out of this trip. What brings us to Cairo? What brings us to Egypt? Which is important to start off, because everybody has a different reason for coming. You know, I have my reasons, other people have theirs, and to get to know each other. All of us will get a chance to share what brings us to the table and what brought us to Cairo. The next thing will be the next day on Monday. We'll stay at the Hyatt Regency in Cairo, a beautiful hotel, or Movenpick. We stayed at Movenpick when we were there. Movenpick is really nice. It's like a little oasis, and it has just a huge pool. The pool goes across the yards. There's maybe 300 yards of pool, and it's shaped with palm trees all around it. And just the weather is just awesome in October. It was 70, 80 degrees. And we'll get a chance to go to see the house of Alexander the Great and Cleopatra. And on that day, we'll leave the hotel and go there, and we'll stop for pictures. Then on the 3rd, on Tuesday, we'll go to the Giza pyramids and the Sphinx. And when we go to the Giza pyramids, those are the 3 pyramids that you often see, and they're right outside of Cairo. The museum is right there as well. So we'll go to the grand opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum. And those 3 pyramids, you get a chance. If you want to ride a camel, you can ride a camel. The picture that you see of us there, we're standing in front of the Giza pyramids. Then we will go to the Papyrus Museum. Okay, and at the Papyrus Museum, there is, and that's on Tuesday, that night. And at night you go and you see this light show in the pyramids area. It's pretty nice. Um, the breakfast, there's all kinds of, we have to eat foods that are cooked and treated, and there's certain things that we don't eat. Anything that you can't cut open, we don't eat. But they'll, in the videos that I share with you along this journey, will prepare you for what to eat, what not to eat. You only drink bottled water while you're there and that kind of thing. But the food is amazing. Is amazing. It's always fresh foods that they've cooked, and it's fresh meats and fresh foods. So it's wonderful. You have you have your breakfast, and then you have your lunch normally out and about on the site, and then you have your dinner when you come back home. On that Wednesday, we'll go to a mosque and a church there. The Grand Egyptian Museum, my fault, is on that day, on day 4. We'll go to the Grand Egyptian Museum, and there are 150,000 artifacts that will be in this new museum. The first museum could handle about 5,000 people a day. This museum can handle 15,000 people a day. And it's right, in shouting distance from the Giza pyramids, so you can see them from there. And then on October 5th, we will check out of the hotel and we'll go, we'll take a flight. And it's a 60-minute flight. We'll go back to the airport, and we go early in the morning, and we take a flight to Luxor. And Luxor is the place where there are 135 pillars there at the temple at Karnak that I told you about. And we'll get a chance to walk through that open museum, and we'll check into our cruise ship. And so we'll spend 5 days on that cruise from there. And the cruise ship is just, again, awesome food. The staff is really beautiful. There's, stores and shops inside the cruise ship. It's a big industry. You'll see a whole lot of ships. So they've really developed a big industry about cruising down the Nile. And you have your own view of the Nile as you're moving down it. And you look, it's just so peaceful looking out your window. And then on the top, they always have a top deck that you can go up on the top deck and just relax and look at the sun, the moon, the stars, whatever time of day it is, and relax. On October 7th, day 7, we'll sail down the Nile to the Edfu Temple and the temple at Komombo. And again, breakfast always first early in the morning. Then we will, when we deboard the ship, we either ride carriages or we ride a bus. We move as a unit. And this one is the temple dedicated to Sabet and Ra and Horus, the falcon, who acted as a doctor. And here you can see the medical carvings of Imhotep, the tools that he created 4,000 years ago. So anyway, and then that night, there's always fun things to do at night too. That night, we'll all dress in Egyptian garb. You can buy something for very reasonable cost over there, the men and the women, and we'll have our heads wrapped, and we'll dance, and we'll have contests. And it's just, they created, if you remember the Love Boat, and they always had fun things to do for the crew, or if you've been on a cruise, they do something similar. They want us to have a great time, and they really cater to all of their visitors and make sure you have everything you need. They also, if you need to wash your clothes, they have somebody pick up your clothes and wash them and that kind of thing. Then on day 9, we'll fly from Aswan back to Cairo, and we'll fly to Sharm el-Sheikh via Cairo. Upon arrival, we'll drive to St. Catherine City. And this is the one that I wanted to do last time that we couldn't do when I was there, and we're going to Mount Sinai. And so we're going to go to the place where Moses went into Mount Sinai and had the vision of God coming to him, both sending him on his journey and also getting the 10 Commandments. And so if, depending on what kind of shape you're in, you can take a hike all the way up at a certain point in the day. We'll also have dinner out in a Bedouin tent on that evening, and it's going to be a long day that day. But seeing Mount Sinai, and a lot of us don't know Mount Sinai is in Egypt. All right, so all of these biblical remembrances we have and stories we've heard, many of them took place in Egypt because, of course, the Hebrews were there in Egypt for 400 years, just like African Americans have been here in America for 400 years. And we will do a camel ride. You'll have a Bedouin guide and you can ride a camel. I didn't ride the last time I was there. And then this is another edition at Sharm el Sheikh. We have breakfast, and if you want, you can go snorkeling, diving, and ride in a glass bottom boat, or parasailing if you want. They went when we were there. People that wanted to, you choose. So there's certain additions. You have your own cash. If you want to go on a they did what do you call those, balloon, the helium balloon. They did the balloon tours, and people were able to go up and look down on the pyramids from those helium balloons. But this one, we're going to go snorkeling, and we can go diving if we want to. And then finally, we return. After that day, we have a day to ourselves. There are 2 days that we have some time just to reflect and do whatever we want to do. On my day, I just took it and rested because I was like, oh my God, we walk. You need to be able to walk about 1 to 3 miles a day because there's a lot of walking involved. So know that, and tell anybody that you invite that they'll need to be able to walk. But I was surprised. We had a lot of elders with us, and we had some people who you wouldn't think would walk 2 or 3 miles, but they were chipper and moving around and walking. There's a certain energy that you get when you're there too. It's just so exciting that you want to do that. And so that is my overview of the trip. I am going to begin to advertise to see if there's some people, that through Facebook, through social media, and I'm going to do some emails, both of this video, and I'm going to begin to advertise the trip to others so that I can, like I said, we need to double our numbers by the time we get to the end of January. So let me know about the Zoom meeting, which one works best for you. I hope that your Kuji Chagalia today is going well, that you're strengthened in your self-determination. And if this is something that not only you want to do, but you know someone who could benefit from this kind of transformative, restful and restorative journey, please tell them about the Hotep Christian pilgrimage to Egypt land. God bless you and God keep you. And my phone number is 734-686-7068. And my email is uhealphd@gmail.com. Hotep Christian Egyptian Pilgrimage 2023, beginning on October 1st of 2023. And we look forward to seeing you, and we'll communicate. Hopefully we'll see you all in the Zoom meeting. Peace and blessings. And Hotep, which means peace.